I am sorry to interrupt all the great conversation. I know that it feels so good to be back together in person, and trust me, I know how good it feels to be sitting with adults. Most of us left most of our kids at home, so I hate to interrupt that, but we do want to get our program started. Remember, if you're posting on Facebook, to use the hashtag #ProLifeBanquet this evening. If you don't know how to post on social media or how to use a hashtag, just give your phone to the youngest person at your table. I'm not even kidding. I seriously think my 2-year-old is better at social media than I am. It sounds like a joke, but all the parents know that it is absolutely true. Right to Life appreciates all the sponsors this evening and the businesses, individuals, and organizations that have advertised in tonight's program booklet. Please be sure to look through your program, see the sponsors, and then patronize their businesses and thank them for their pro-life support. In 10 of the program booklets this evening, there's a smiley face sticker. Be sure to look through your booklet for the sticker. As you leave this evening, stop by the table at the upper level entrance, show them your sticker, and you will receive a copy of the book, So Many Special Families, that we will hear more about later. We want to recognize and thank 2 ladies responsible for our centerpieces this evening, Kelsey DiGaetano and Diana Williams. You guys, these centerpieces are so cute. I have 12 kids, and I'm thinking about having another baby just so I can use a pair of those booties. My husband just started to sweat. If you have a heart sticker on the back of your program booklet at the end of the evening, you can take the centerpiece home. We just ask that you give the booties to a baby. We appreciate Clearwater Car Wash's generous support. In addition to being a diamond sponsor, they have scheduled a Clearwater Cares Day for this Wednesday to benefit Right to Life. $2 from every car wash plus donations will go to Right to Life. Clearwater Car Wash is located in Warsaw, across from Martin's and Menards, and there's a flyer in your program with information about the Clearwater Cares Fundraiser Day. And on your table this evening, there are registration forms for the Heartline Pregnancy Center's Donut Dash 5K. My husband loves it when I talk about him in front of a lot of people, so I'm going to do it some more. He said to me, how this is donuts, how have I not been a part of this before? In case you don't know, you run and eat donuts at the same time. Everybody should be a part of this event. You have to run, but you get to eat donuts while you do it. So consider supporting Heartline through this event and run and eat some donuts. I want to thank our Father's House for this delicious dinner, and I want to thank Patty Lennon for the truffle balls tonight. Okay, we have a lot of guests to introduce this evening, so I'm going to just ask that as I say your name, you can stand, and we'll recognize you in groups. So we'll hold our applause until the end of each group, and then we can show our appreciation for everyone who's in that grouping together. First, we have organization representatives attending this evening, so please stand as I introduce you. We have Kathy Humbarger, who's the founder and director of Public Policy for Reprotection Incorporated. We have executive director for Deeper Still, Lisa Davis. We have the founder of Raise the Dough, Toby Forste. Grace College and Seminary president, Dr. Bill Katip. And we have some Indiana Right to Life affiliates representatives with us this evening as well. Norma Holm with Lake County Right to Life. Executive Director for Right to Life of Northeast Indiana, Zach Rogers. And the Director of Development for Right to Life of Northeast Indiana, Josh Christians. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, at this time, Indiana Right to Life President and CEO Mike Fichter is going to come up and give us an update on some issues happening at the state level. So help me to welcome Mike.
Okay, I have one big question. 88 degrees in northern Indiana at the end of September. What's up with that? That's kind of, wow, I didn't expect that. But isn't it great to get back together again? in a setting like this, especially after last year, which probably most of us would agree was the longest, the shortest, the most confusing, the saddest. You fill in the different adjectives on that, but it's so good to get back together. Great crowd tonight, great fellowship. You got David Bereit in the house tonight to speak, so this is going to be a tremendous evening, and thank you, every one of you, for showing up tonight and being here and being a part of this big event. And I just have a couple of minutes to share with you some things, to give you an update. First, we talk a lot about changing hearts and minds. We hear that all the time in the pro-life movement. And I'm really excited about a new project that Indiana Right to Life's been working on. We launched it maybe 6 months ago or something like that. But it's about the So Many Special Families adoption book it's this little book right here. And Mary Williams is up at the entrance at a table where you can pick one of these up tonight, or maybe they're on the tables. I'm not really sure. But this was designed, I think it's important for you to know, this wasn't just designed to be just a cute children's book. It's designed because God's intent for changing the culture starts in the household. And it starts with parents and it starts with grandparents talking to young children. So this book really takes the adoption issue at a level in which parents or grandparents or others can talk to really young children and talk about adoption as the positive alternative to abortion. And we have volume number 2 coming out in about 2 months, and just give you a heads up, it's going to be based on Psalm 139, and we envision an entire children's book series. And why? So that kids as young as 2 and 3 and 4 years old are starting to get a positive, life-affirming message of every life being special because every life's created in the image of God. So we're excited about that project. Make sure you get a copy of that book tonight before you leave. Bulk copies are available if you want them for a school or a library or your church or whatever. Love to do that. SoManySpecialFamilies.org. We're going to feature all types of different adoption stories, so check that out as well. And then I just wanted to share with you a little bit about legislation and some court action for you to be aware of. The Indiana legislature did pass significant legislation this year, and it included sort of the marquee item in the bill was abortion pill reversal information had to be delivered to women so that they know about the potential of this process, which has saved over 2,000 babies nationwide so far. That was passed this year into law. The conscience protections for mental health workers. Mental health workers are often overlooked in the entire discussion on protection of conscience. And yet in Indiana, a lot of other healthcare workers, we've already fought and won those wars. Now mental health workers cannot be forced in their job to counsel in abortion. And we also toughened our ban, I guess I should say, on using telemedicine for counseling for abortions. And we actually removed the FDA regulations from our chemical abortion regulations in Indiana. Why did we do that? Because we knew the FDA under the Biden administration was going to take everything in a bad direction. So we did not want our law handcuffed to the Biden administration FDA, so we broke those handcuffs with that law this year. We also passed a $500,000 increase for the Real Alternative program in Indiana, which is now, instead of $2.25 million, it's now $2.5 million per year for the next 2 years, supports pro-life centers across the state, including, I believe, Heartline here. And we also passed in the law that women must be given at no cost a photo of their baby's ultrasound when she has her ultrasound 18 hours prior to an abortion. So with all of that said, we passed a lot of really good, meaningful legislation. Then comes June 30th in Indiana, where a U.S. district judge issued, a day before it was scheduled to go into effect, issued an injunction blocking the abortion pill reversal law from going into effect. An irony of ironies, the abortion group that filed the suit was called All Options. So figure that out. All Options is suing so women don't have the option of all abortion abortion pill reversal. Then I think it was literally 2 days after that. It was a bad stretch during that week. Another U.S. District Court judge issued what I can just tell you is the most sweeping injunction in the 30-plus years that I've done this. I've never seen anything as brazenly overstepping as this judge did. This judge blocked Indiana's telemedicine ban. Remember, we had just toughened it. She blocked the telemedicine ban. She blocked the second trimester requirement in Indiana that a later term abortion has to be done in a hospital or an ambulatory outpatient surgical center. She blocked that. That law in itself had been on the books for, I think, over 40 years, and for some reason this district judge now feels it needs to be blocked. So she blocked that. She reattached, get this, remember I told you we took the handcuffs off of the Biden administration FDA. She reattached the FDA regulations to Indiana's chemical abortion law, which then means that the mailing of the abortion drugs, sending them in the mail, which has been approved now by the FDA, now became fair game in Indiana. She blocked informed consent requirements that women prior to an abortion must be informed about a baby's ability to feel pain. She also blocked the informed consent requirement that women be, what was the other one here? That women are told when human life begins. And these two things, this judge blocked both of those. And then, probably the biggest thing out of all of this is she blocked the physician-only requirement for chemical abortifacients in the state of Indiana. She blocked any law that requires that it must be a physician. Now, when you look at this, you would say, well, what's behind all of this? Well, a lot of things are behind it, but one of the primary things behind it is this was potentially a cash windfall for the abortion industry in Indiana. Think about it. They cut out doctors as the middleman or middlewoman, however you want to put it, and at the same time, they were poised to make Indiana a mecca for second trimester abortions in the state of Indiana at the freestanding clinics that operate right now. So all of this was working together, and the abortion groups in Indiana, Whole Woman's Health, was celebrating this as a major victory. Fortunately, Indiana took action. Indiana filed for a motion to stay pending appeal, which means the injunction can't be enforced as long as Indiana is appealing the process. Of course, that has to be filed with the same district judge who issued the injunction, and she rejected it. That was expected. It went to the U.S. 7th Circuit, and the U.S. 7th Circuit just a couple of weeks ago granted the motion to stay pending appeal, meaning most of these things now are blocked. The injunction is blocked against almost every one of these things based upon, and the 7th Circuit, this is very interesting to note, the 7th Circuit made their ruling based upon the high probability that Indiana is going to win this thing on appeal as it works up through the court system. So big win in the 7th Circuit. And this is not the first win in the courts this year. The 7th Circuit back in June, July, I forget which, maybe earlier than that, but the 7th Circuit this year also lifted the injunction against Indiana's law that abortion complications must be reported. That had been blocked. The 7th Circuit said they're lifting that injunction. And then back in January, this wasn't directly a court action, but last year Planned Parenthood surrendered on its 18-hour in advance of an abortion ultrasound requirement, and that law went back into effect in Indiana January 1. So these are good things, they're good news that's happened here. So just wanted you to know, in the legislature, in the battle to win the culture in the hearts and minds, in the courts, we're seeing some very positive development here. But just know this, you watch the news, everyone in this room, you all know this. The intensity is picking up, the tempo is picking up. Pro-life leaders are maxed out right now. This movement is maxed out, and why we want to be maxed out. We're in a world, we're in a country in which 60 million plus unborn babies have been legally killed under the sanction of the law in the United States of America. So why would we not want to be maxed out? But you need to know the intensity is picking up at an unheard of level. I think David would agree with that. Every other pro-life leader in this room knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's why it is so important for you to be here tonight. I just can't tell you enough how encouraging you are to me when I walk in here and see this. I know Dave's encouraged by this. I know the folks at Heartline are encouraged by this, because when it's all said and done, what you're watching tonight on Fox News or whatever you turn on and watch and see what's happening in the world, that isn't going to change the world. The people that are looking at the camera reporting the news are not going to change the world, but you can. And that's why it's important for you to be here tonight, because you are the hope for America, and you are the hope for millions of unborn children yet to be born. They are counting on you, and that's why it's so special for you to be here tonight. God bless you.
Thank you, Mike. I need to apologize to Dr. Bill K-Tip because I mispronounced his name. Dave told me I could blame it on him, but the truth is I have 12 children and very few brain cells left. So most of the names in this program, Dave generously phonetically spelled, and I legitimately still said to him tonight, you spelled this phonetically, and I still don't know how to say it. So if I pronounce your name wrong and you feel the need to send an angry letter, just address it to Pat Miller at WOWO. And I'm sure he'll get it to me. Okay, we have some political guests with us tonight. So again, please stand when I say your name, and we'll applaud for them at the end. We have Kosciuszko County Republican Chairman Mike Reagan, Winona Lake Town Clerk Treasurer Kent Adams, Kosciuszko County Commissioner Bob Conley, Kosciuszko County Commissioner Brad Jackson, Kosciuszko County Sheriff Kyle Dukes, Republican Party Secretary Austin Robenstein, Indiana State Representative District 18 Craig Snow, Indiana State Representative District 22 Kurt Nisley, retired and longest elected state representative for District 18 David Wilkins. I heard some laughing, I think I said a name wrong. Pat Miller at WOWO. We also have some candidates for office with us this evening. We have candidate for Kosciuszko County Commissioner, Southern District, Don Wiesehan. Candidate for Kosciuszko County Sheriff, Jim Smith. Candidate for State Treasurer, Dan Elliott. And candidate for 2024 Indiana Governor's Race, Eric Doden. My last name is Smith, so it never gets pronounced incorrectly, but my maiden name is Alles, A-L-L-E-S, and it was never pronounced correctly one time in my entire adolescence, so I'm sorry, but been there. Okay, we appreciate that both Congresspersons Jackie Walorski and Jim Banks, who represent our region, are strongly pro-life. Unfortunately, both are in Washington and are not able to be here with us tonight. However, their representatives are here this evening. Chris Crabtree, Senior Advisor for Congressman Banks, and Zach Potts, Campaign Manager for Congresswoman Walorski. We have video messages from both, so we'll start with Congresswoman Walorski, followed by Congressman Banks.
Good evening. I'm Congresswoman Jackie Walorski, and I wanted to thank you for being here tonight to stand up for life. Although I'm not able to join you in person, I'm so glad I joined you in the spirit for this important cause. Thank you to Dave Koontz and the entire team at Right to Life of North Central Indiana for hosting this event and for their tireless work to protect the unborn. All of us here tonight believe that every single life is precious. Your life-saving work on the ground is so important. With the cards stacked against us, defending life is truly a team effort. Despite Joe Biden and the Democrats' radical anti-life agenda, we are making progress in our vital fight to defend the sanctity of human life. This has never been more important. In Congress, it's my privilege to serve as a voice for the voiceless. As we push back on the Democrats' unprecedented attacks on life, I'll continue to advocate for every child's right to life. The U.S. Constitution clearly safeguards life. And this is a time to advance pro-life protections that support women and the most vulnerable among us. Thank you again for your time tonight and for your partnership in this fight. I look forward to being with you again very soon. In the meantime, keep up the great work.
Hi, Congressman Jim Banks here. Thank you for allowing me to share this message with you. I want to thank Right to Life of North Central Indiana for your great work, and Executive Director Dave Koontz especially. We in the pro-life movement are in the fight of our lives. Let me be as clear as I have ever been. The Joe Biden presidency has been a disaster for everything that we believe in. Within 24 hours of taking office, President Biden repealed the Mexico City policy, the rule that prevented American taxpayer dollars from funding abortions overseas. In July, the Democrat-led House, led by Speaker Pelosi, through 45 years of bipartisan consensus, in the trash when they omitted the Hyde Amendment from several spending bills that had passed. Democrats did this even though every Congress and president since 1976 stood by and reaffirmed the Hyde Amendment to protect American taxpayer dollars from funding abortions. But that's not all. Under the Biden administration, groups like Planned Parenthood, who perform abortions, are once again receiving federal family planning dollars. All of this was just in President Biden's first 9 months in office. It's scary to think what the next 3 years can hold. That's a lot to take in, I know, but there is much to be hopeful about. The Supreme Court's decision last month to effectively allow Texas's law banning abortion after 6 weeks was huge. Soon, the Supreme Court will review Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban in a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade. In Congress, Republicans are unified as much as they've ever been in opposing the Democrats' radical pro-abortion agenda. As chairman of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus in Congress, I'm proud that over 200 of my Republican colleagues in the House join me in not one but two separate initiatives opposing any bill which seeks to repeal the Hyde Amendment. In this Congress alone, Republicans have introduced over 30 different pieces of pro-life legislation, and I'm a co-sponsor of every single one of them. Those include bills to ban abortion after 20 weeks, to prevent organizations who perform abortion from receiving federal family planning grants, to make the Hyde Amendment permanent, to protect babies who survive abortions, and more. That's why building a united front of leaders, organizations, and institutions in Washington and throughout the country to oppose the radical left's agenda and to fight for everything that we believe, especially when it comes to protecting life, is one of my top priorities this Congress. My message to all of you is this: we have no choice but to fight. We do not fight alone, however. Millions of Americans who support our cause are at our side. In the end, we will prevail, God willing. Thank you all again for allowing me to share this message. Thank you for all that you do and for allowing me to represent you in Congress. And most importantly, thank you for all of your hard work and sacrifice to fight to protect the sanctity of life. God bless you. Thank you.
We want to recognize the Right to Life board members. Again, as I say your name, please stand and we'll applaud at the end. Ben Woodcox, Paul and Deborah Tomaszewski, Aaron Black, Nancy Boston, Susan Schurer, Marcia Anderson, Madeline Horvath, Jeff Allen, Jeff Pfeiffer, Perry Lennon, Bill Crane, Julie Diffendarfer, William Landrigan, and advisory board members George Clemens, John Armacost, Joe Wilkie, Jerry Hogan, Bill Henthorn, and Bill K-Tip. The Fourth Degree Warsaw Knights of Columbus, Bishop Noel Council 4511, will now present the colors and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We have 2 Mary Louise Lowe Pro-Life Award recipients this year. Right to Life's president, Jeff Pfeiffer, is going to announce our first recipient. Jeff?
Well, it is my privilege and honor to announce the first of 2 2021 Mary Louise Lowe Pro-Life Award recipients, and it's such a blessing to have her daughters here. You know, I think about, Mary Pat. I have a personal connection with both. Mary Pat and I attend the same church, and her son David does 5Ks, and I do my best to do 5Ks with David. So we have that connection. And then Susan serves on our board, and what a blessing to have her wisdom and discernment with the local Right to Life board. And so you ladies are honoring your mother and her legacy, and she's looking down from heaven, and she's very pleased with you. So thank you for participating in this award tonight. This award is given to individuals, organizations, or businesses that have in a very meaningful way impacted the pro-life movement in North Central Indiana. The award was named after Mary Louise Lowe, who passed away in 2019. Louise was one of the co-founding members of Kosciuszko Right to Life in 1973. She served on the board until the early 2000s and even continued to be involved as she was able until just a few years before her passing. She was a positive and very involved influence on the organization while raising 12 children. We appreciate so much, and we are very thankful for the legacy of life that your mother has left us. Our first recipient tonight is an organization that has been a supporter of Right to Life and Heartline Pregnancy Center for many years. That support has included very generous financial gifts, providing volunteers for projects such as setting up the cross display, and helping with events such as this annual fall banquet, the Life Chain and Heartline's Walk, Run for Life. This group was also an anchor for covering time slots during the annual 40 Days for Life outside of Warsaw Planned Parenthood. And just as a side note, Warsaw Planned Parenthood is no more. Amen. 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 Often the group's members were ready with very short notice to fill 40-day slots. They have also presented the colors during each fall banquet since the first banquet in 1997. If you would please hold your applause, our first Mary Louise Lowe Pro-Life Award recipient is Knights of Columbus Archbishop Noel Council 4511, which is based here in Warsaw. And as Mark Piazza comes to accept the award, I would like to ask all the members of Knights of Columbus Council 4511 to please stand. On behalf of Right to Life of North Central Indiana, thank you, Knights of Columbus. May the Lord richly bless you as you continue in this very important pro-life work. God bless you. Well, I get to introduce to you the hardest working man I know, who happens to be the executive director of Right to Life of North Central Indiana, Dave Koontz.
By the way, those weren't my tickets that I just put in there. Somebody was late getting back to the basket, so I hate to see anybody miss out on those door prizes. Well, it's my privilege to announce our, it's my privilege to announce our second recipient of the Mary Louise Lowe Pro-Life Award. Without this company's support, I don't know that Right to Life of North Central Indiana would be making the impact it is today. Back in the 1990s, Right to Life, then known as Kosciuszko County Right to Life, was a very small organization with a very committed board and no paid staff. In fact, the annual budget back in the mid-90s was about $8,000, and that's $8,000 per year, not per month. While this award isn't about me, God put me in a job at that time that not only was preparing me for leading this organization, but he also provided me with a job in a company that was owned and led by Christian pro-life men. These men were willing to allow me the flexibility to take on what would be considered executive director type responsibilities for Right to Life while continuing to work as a financial planner. This situation afforded Kosciuszko County Right to Life a luxury that many nonprofits working on a shoestring budget don't experience: the opportunity to grow while being directed by an unpaid executive director. This company has also been a banquet sponsor every year since the very first banquet in 1997, 25 years ago. Our second 2021 Mary Louise Lowe Pro-Life Award goes to Sim Financial. Jerry, I think you're here. If you could come up to receive this, and I hope he's here. Jerry Yeager. If not, somebody from Sim. Oh, there we go. Okay. Gosh, I was getting nervous. I want to add that while they're coming up, I want to thank and recognize Jerry, Steve, and Chuck Yeager and Sim Financial for the encouragement they gave me and for helping to put Right to Life in a position to begin to grow in a way that might not have otherwise been possible. Sim was a significant part of the early stages of what Right to Life has become today, an organization that now has an impact in 8 counties. So, thank you, guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know we were going to have so many people up here. Okay, let's see. Alan's get a picture here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, there you go. That's really cute.
Okay, we have some door prizes to give away. I'm going to invite Jeff Pfeiffer up. He's going to be my Vanna. Isn't he lovely?
Oh,
you
man.
can hold it. Just we hold that,
Okay.
thanks. Okay, all the prizes can be picked up at the ticket kiosk at the main doors where most of you came in this evening. As a way to show our appreciation for the work the table hosts do each year, we entered all the table hosts in a drawing for 2 prizes worth at least $250 each. Now, before we draw the names, I want to let you know that these prizes are transferable. I also want to let you know that I'm the stay-at-home homeschooling mom of 12 children, and I never win anything. Now, if that's not enough sympathy, I want to just recognize that I brought my 9-year-old daughter with me tonight, and it's her birthday. So the prizes are transferable. Just want to. Okay, our first table host winner will receive a 6-month platinum car wash pass worth $288, donated by Clearwater Car Wash. You want to draw? You draw.
Oh, okay.
And the winner is, I'm going to make him read the name too.
All right. Bob Conley.
Bob Conley. Okay, our second table host prize is two season passes, not 2 seasons worth of passes, 2 season passes to the Wagon Wheel Playhouse. Veronica loves musical theater, just putting it out there. This is worth $338, and the winner is
Glenn Matthew.
Glenn Matthew. Okay, now we have some door prizes to give out, and these prizes can be picked up at the ticket table at the main entrance after the banquet. So the first is a $50 gift card to Cerulean Restaurant in the Village at Winona.
Am I doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to have to say names. They already snickered when I made a mistake.
So this is just numbers.
Turn it over.
Oh, okay. You know, Vanna's getting ready to retire. So, okay. Lamar Rogers.
Lamar Rogers. Prize number 2 is a $50 Boathouse Restaurant gift card.
Oh, man. What's Bob again? Bob Conley again.
That's Bob Conley again. Are you going to put it back in?
I'm gonna put it
Jeff's
back in.
putting it back in,
Yeah,
Bob.
I'll
I
put
had
it back
nothing to do with it.
Sorry, Bob. Betsy Sudhoff.
Oh, Betsy. The third is a $50 Speedway gift card, and gas is super expensive.
John Berthoff.
John. And our final door prize is a $50 Clearwater Car Wash gift card.
Mary Beth Sear.
Okay, I'm grasping at straws here, but I think Mary Beth's car is really dirty. Okay, so don't forget that you can pick up your prizes at the ticket kiosk on the upper level on your way out. Can we hear it for Vanna? All right, now Dave Koontz is going to come back up, and he's going to give us an update on the pro-life efforts in North Central Indiana.
Sorry you're going to see me a couple times tonight, and I'll try not to get so emotional this time. I want to thank Jessica for being willing to step in on fairly short notice to be our MC this evening, so would you help me thank her? She's the lady hiding behind the drape there, the curtain number 1. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming this evening. I feel like I'm a little rusty. It's been 2 years since we've done this, so it's great to be back. I know I've had several people that have commented on how nice the setup is, but unfortunately it's about 500 or 600 less than we normally have, so we may be back to the long tables next year, but we'll pack some more people in. I want to thank the basketball team, actually women's and men's basketball team that are going to help us with teardown afterwards, and then the baseball team helped with cleaning tables. So there you go. Hopefully they didn't clear your plates too quickly, but we could not do what we do without having Grace involved in the sports teams especially. So I want to start out by thanking the legislators and the candidates that are here this evening. We know that standing for pro-life values is often going against what can often seem like a tidal wave of anti-life pressure, and we want to thank you for your efforts. It's only been 9 months, but it seems like a lifetime as we've seen the current administration continue to find new ways to attack unborn babies and pro-lifers. In fact, I'm sure you know, and it was mentioned before, the Democrats are pushing radical abortion-on-demand legislation that would override pro-life laws in Indiana and every state in this country to allow for abortion at any time and under any circumstance. The time that we're experiencing right now has made me appreciate even more the efforts of pro-life representatives like Jackie Walorski and Jim Banks, as well as our senators, Todd Young and Mike Braun. The current situation nationally makes it even more important that we're working locally to educate people on pro-life issues. With your help, the pro-life movement in North Central Indiana continues to be strong and expanding. Through your support, Right to Life is able to serve 8 counties in North Central Indiana. And since we met last time, we've merged with Marshall County Right to Life, which made up that 8th county. You may have already found the color brochure inserted in your program booklet this evening. It gives you a good overall idea of what we do, but I want to take a few minutes and highlight some of those items that you'll see in the brochure. First, you're encouraging students to stand for life through Students for Life groups, Pro-Life T-shirt Day, and you're giving high school students the opportunity to experience the January National March for Life in Washington, D.C. that we're hoping to get back to this coming January. You're also encouraging pastors to stand for life. We've had 4 pastor spouse appreciation luncheons in the past 5 weeks, and we're planning for more. These luncheons are an opportunity to encourage pastors, update them on what's happening in the pro-life movement, and get their thoughts on how we can work better with the church community. You're helping to impact the lives of women and men experiencing unexpected or challenging pregnancies by partnering with the 5 pregnancy resource centers in our region. While Right to Life can promote the protection of all human life and encourage women and their families to choose life, we don't have the ability to provide a woman experiencing an unexpected pregnancy the face-to-face support that she needs oftentimes to choose life. That's where the pregnancy centers make a difference. I have the privilege of being a part of the leadership of one of these pregnancy centers, Heartline, and I can see on a day-to-day basis what a difference the staff can make with abortion-vulnerable and abortion-minded women, as well as impacting the men involved in that decision. You're also helping new moms in crisis situations through the Safe Haven Baby Box Project and advertising the Safe Haven hotline number. Due to your generosity, Right to Life has been able to be a significant part of raising the funds to purchase and install 5 baby boxes in North Central Indiana, which cost about $10,000 each. We're currently working with the Knights of Columbus in Rochester to raise the funds for a 6th baby box to be installed in Rochester. We're also advertising the Safe Haven hotline number through billboards. These billboards have resulted in multiple calls for help and have been instrumental in 2 successful surrenders of North Central Indiana newborns. One of those babies was baby Nola, which we introduced to those of you who were able to attend the Legacy of Life programs last fall and earlier this year. We're also concerned for those women and men who've experienced abortion and need to know that there is forgiveness and healing in Christ. We're thankful for the relationship Right to Life has with the post-abortion ministry, Deeper Still of Northern Indiana. Deeper Still mission is to bring healing and lasting freedom to the abortion-wounded heart, and we began partnering with them financially as well as promoting their events. Many of you participate in events such as the annual Life Chain, which takes place on the first Sunday in October, which, by the way, is coming up this Sunday, so there should be no excuse for all of you to attend one and participate in one of those life chains. This is an event that reminds those driving by that abortion kills children and hurts women, but God forgives and heals. This year, we're coordinating 9 different life chain locations in the 8 counties we serve, and you can find a list of those locations on page 12 of your program booklet. Some of you may have attended the Roe v. Wade memorial service that we held in Warsaw this past January. We appreciated being able to partner with the Warsaw Ministerial Association to make that event happen. That event was so successful that we're going to expand into more towns in North Central Indiana this coming January. I know there are a number of you who have helped Bill Landrigan set up the cross display over the years. The display for Kosciuszko County that's pictured here has approximately 400 crosses, with each cross representing 6 unborn Kosciuszko County babies lost to abortion since 1982. While there are many other ways that you're making a difference through Right to Life, I'll end with the pro-life messages that we're able to display on billboards around the region. These are just a few of the many different messages. We're thankful to be able to work with 4 different billboard companies that have been great to work with, very pro-life. Those are Lamar, Eagle, Perma, and Burkhart. Because of the generosity and efforts of many of you here this evening, the pro-life movement in North Central Indiana is strong and growing. Right to Life of North Central Indiana is pleased to be a part of that movement as we continue to connect with more organizations, churches, and individuals to develop a network that expands and strengthens the pro-life movement across our region. We will have an opportunity to give to the pro-life cause later this evening. Our fundraising goal for this evening is $80,000 in donations and pledges. We have an added incentive this evening. $26,000 has been contributed to a match pool by some generous donors. So your donation or pledge of $100 or more this evening will be matched dollar for dollar up to $26,000, which will get us up to a total of $52,000 or over halfway towards that $80,000 goal. Your donation or pledge will allow Right to Life to continue to help moms in crisis through the Baby Box Project, promote life through multiple media opportunities, train and encourage students and adults to stand for life, help those who've experienced abortion to find God's forgiveness and healing, and encourage pregnancy centers across North Central Indiana. This organization would not exist if it weren't for God's blessing and your investment in time and money that many of you make throughout the year. It's a privilege to work for you and with you as we continue to promote the protection of all human life, help women and men choose life, and minister to those who've experienced the tragic decision of abortion. Thank you.
Dave really is the hardest working person that I know, and I am positive he doesn't sleep. And if you interact with him via email, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 2:30, 4:30. I don't sleep, but that's because I have a 2-year-old. He doesn't sleep because he's just that dedicated. So can we give him one more round of applause? You are almost done having to listen to me. Yay! All right, so this is what we're here for. David Bereit became an outspoken pro-life advocate when Planned Parenthood announced plans to build an abortion facility in his town in 1998. He helped to start and build a local grassroots coalition that rallied 60 churches and thousands of people together, dramatically reduced abortions in the region, and successfully closed down that abortion center. Planned Parenthood recognized the effectiveness of David's efforts when it labeled his town the most anti-choice place in the nation. Drawing upon his local experiences, David started and led the worldwide 40 Days for Life movement through its first decade, mobilizing 750,000 volunteers in more than 700 cities across 40 nations, whose prayers and efforts helped to save more than 13,000 children's lives, bring 154 workers out of the abortion industry, and close 90 abortion centers. David recently stepped aside from his role as CEO of 40 Days for Life to pray and plan for a new ministry project, which will be announced soon. David's work has been featured in nearly every major media outlet, including coverage on CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, HBO, hundreds of radio programs, and over 100 newspapers, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and USA Today. David has been married to his best friend, Margaret, for 25 years. We're very blessed that she is here today spending her birthday with us. She's Veronica's birthday buddy. And they have 2 children, Claire and Patrick. Please join me in welcoming David Bereit.
Well, good evening. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen. All right, we've got a very important item of business that we have to transact here. My wife rarely gets to come with me on events like this. I've been here in Kosciuszko County, all over Indiana, many, many different times. And now as empty nesters, we have this new season where Margaret occasionally gets to travel with me. For her to be here with me is amazing. But on her birthday, how awesome is that? And not only is it her birthday, but we heard that it's Veronica's birthday as well. So I think is anybody else's birthday today? Just want to make sure we don't leave anybody out. All right, can we sing to Margaret and Veronica, happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret and Veronica. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Well, it is such a blessing to be back in the Hoosier State, a state that I believe is among the most pro-life states in our entire nation. And it's always a joy to see what God is doing through the faithful people here. And boy, what a crazy time it is to be involved in pro-life efforts, right? We heard Congressman Banks talk about it. I have to attest, I was just a few days ago in Texas, and it was not a scorched earth, despite what the media would say after the state passing the Heartbeat Act. And no abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy are being committed in the state of Texas after the Supreme Court refused to overturn that decision. How awesome is that, right? Well, and then you also heard the reference to the case coming up out of Mississippi, the Dobbs case that the Supreme Court just announced will be heard on December the 1st. It will likely be decided at the end of their term next June. But that case has the opportunity to directly challenge some of the major tenets of the Roe v. Wade decision that imposed abortion on America. And it even has the possibility of being able to directly overturn Roe v. Wade next year. How awesome is that? But, even if it does overturn Roe v. Wade, all that does is throw the decision back to the states, which underscores the urgency and the importance of what we are doing here tonight, unified as the people from across Indiana, a state that is equipped to be able to battle toe-to-toe with the abortion industry and win. But our work is still far from over, and all we have to do is look at the Indiana Department of Health report to find that in the last reported year, 7,637 Hoosier children lost their lives to abortion. 7,637 women last year were preyed upon by the abortion industry who profits from the death of their children and were abandoned to lives of regret. And you could say to me, David, well, yeah, Indianapolis, that's so bad there, and, other places in the state. But just as Dave was citing the 8 counties that make up Right to Life of North Central Indiana, I pulled up on my phone at the table the Indiana Department of Health report, and I tallied up because they measure abortions by the county of residence. And in the 8 counties that this organization makes up, last year, 224 women had abortions, 224 children perished in your backyard. That means that every single week, on average, another 4 children lose their lives. Every week, on average, right here where you live, another 4 women are wounded. Some physically, but many more emotionally and spiritually and psychologically. And the question is, what do we do? We can come to this dinner, but it's what we do when we leave here that makes the difference. If all we do is come here and say, check the pro-life box for the year, we're done, this event has failed. It's what happens after this that makes the difference. It's what happens inside our hearts and that we then take and put into action. And I believe the answer to the challenge that we're facing, whether it's in Washington, D.C., whether it's in Indiana, or whether it's for those 4 children losing their lives every week in your backyard, 4 women being wounded every week in your backyard, we can turn to the Gospel of Matthew and realize that the antidote is right in there. We're told if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. There's 2 important elements to that. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, we don't have to have enormous faith, we have to have tiny faith, but real faith. But it's not enough, as we read that passage of Scripture, to merely have the faith, because then it says, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. So we have to have faith, but then we have to take action upon that faith. And that's what happens tomorrow and the next day, and until this great travesty of abortion ends for once and for all. It's faith plus action. And this evening, I just wanted to share just a few brief stories with you of where I've seen that play out in people around my own life, in watching what God can do through one person at a time who has that faith the size of a mustard seed, and then who is willing to put that into action and to say to a mountain, move, and it will move. Nothing is impossible for them. I'll never forget the day of October 5th, 2009. I was in Jackson, Mississippi. I was leading a meeting of all the state pro-life leaders across Mississippi, because Mississippi, at that point, and still to this day, has only one remaining abortion facility. And so the people from across the state, the leaders came together, and I facilitated a strategy meeting to say, what can we do to close this place down? How could Mississippi become an abortion-free state? Is that even possible? And so we had all kinds of strategy going on, and some of what happened in that meeting has been bearing fruit ever since, and that also contributed to this case that's going before the U.S. Supreme Court. But that day, we're in the midst of these intense meetings, and on October 5th, my phone in my pocket starts to buzz. Well, I'm in a meeting. I'm not going to just answer my phone, and so I just let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, it buzzes again, and then it buzzes again. I'm like, somebody is urgently trying to reach me. Well, then they send me a text message. And it's the prayer volunteers who are running the 40 Days for Life campaign back in College Station, Texas, where I first got involved in pro-life efforts when God called me out of my job to work in the pro-life movement full-time, where through an hour of prayer, we discerned this call to do what became 40 Days for Life. And they were calling and then eventually texting me and saying, call us the moment you can. You're never going to believe what just happened. Okay, curiosity kills the cat, right? I had to figure it out. So the next break of our meeting, I ran out into the lobby at the hotel facility there, and I got on my cell phone and I called them and I said, hey, what happened? I saw your messages. I had to call you. And they said, Abby Johnson, the director of the Planned Parenthood facility right next door to our office, she just literally walked in here, tears streaming down her face, said she had witnessed an ultrasound-guided abortion and said she wants to quit Planned Parenthood, and she came to us for help. I said, you're right. I don't believe it. And then it struck me. For years, our family had prayed outside of that abortion facility when we lived in Texas before we moved to Virginia. Even after we'd moved, we continued to pray for those who worked at that abortion facility to have a change of heart, to have a conversion, to leave the abortion industry. And yet when Abby Johnson walked out, I didn't believe it. Oh, us of little faith. And I realized at that moment, I really do need to have faith the size of a mustard seed, and then I need to put that faith into action. And we all have watched over these years since 2009 as Abby's story was retold in the best-selling book Unplanned. And then how many of you saw the movie Unplanned that related her story of her conversion as she left the abortion industry? She was Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year in 2008. And by the grace of God and through the love and the prayers and the support of people outside that facility, she had a change of heart and left. Another phone call that really profoundly affected me related to Abby's story was a few months after that first call in October of 2009. I got a phone call this time from Abby herself. She was at an event speaking in Los Angeles. The actor Eduardo Verástegui was having a big pro-life gathering, and her conversion story had made the national news, and she was still, believe me, still really rough around the edges. But Eduardo had asked her to come and to share her testimony of how people's love had brought her out of the abortion industry. And so she went out there. And at the end of her event, as she related to me over the phone, she said, "David, a woman came up to me right at the end of the event, and she said, 'My name is Annette, and I work for Planned Parenthood.'" And Abby was like, "Okay, what's about to happen here?" And Annette said, "I want to leave. I want to quit my job." And through her tears, she shared that she had gone into working in the abortion industry thinking she was doing good, but that over time she realized she was a part of something awful. And she said, "Abby, in your example, I see what I need. I need to leave, and I need to find hope. I need to find healing." And so Abby calls me from right there at the event, and she said, "David, what do we do?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "But we need to believe that we can help her, because we as a pro-life movement have been saying for years that we want people to have a change of heart. So when they come out, are we willing to put our faith into action? Are we willing to stand with them? Are we willing to help them, even in the messiness of life?" And so Abby, as she started talking, she said, "Well, I know somewhere over here I could pull some resources. I know somebody who could help her to find a job. I'm going to get Eduardo over here, and he's this really handsome Mexican actor, and he'll pray with her, and she'll be really excited about that. We're going to get this all done." And as she started talking to me, and I'm just thinking, a few months ago, you were working at Planned Parenthood. You've come out. Now you're helping other people. And I saw that spark of faith in Abby. She believed that what she had gone through, she could now help somebody else who was there themselves. And she believed that she could help Annette. And I remember saying to Abby on that phone call, I said, "Abby, I think God's tapping you for something very special. There's hardly anybody else who's been through your experience. You're uniquely gifted with this journey of having come from the abortion industry out, finding healing and finding hope, and now you can offer that to others." And Abby was inspired with that tiny little seed of faith to start a ministry called "And Then There Were None." And Then There Were None specifically exists to help pull every worker out of the abortion industry over time, and even if abortion is not yet illegal, to make sure there's no one to provide abortions. I think that sounds like a great plan. And to do it all through love, through compassion, through support. And the reason I was in Texas just a few days ago was because And Then There Were None had their first ever banquet. And at this banquet, they were celebrating what God has done through their ministry. They have now helped more than 600 workers leave the abortion industry from that first one, Annette, and it's amazing to see. And at that banquet in Dallas, in this ritzy hotel, the Anatole, they had 50 of those workers come up on the platform, and together, they sang Amazing Grace, and they were praising Jesus for healing them and bringing them out of the abortion industry. And they were committing themselves to help every other person they could to experience that same healing. Faith plus action can change and save lives. The next two experiences I had were back to back, 2 weeks after one another. Now, our family now lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia, so we're about an hour south of Washington, D.C. And during the season when I was leading 40 Days for Life, the nearest abortion facility to us was in Manassas, Virginia. It's a little bit west of Washington, D.C. So our daughter's high school would go, and they would go as a group and go up and pray at that facility. Our family sometimes would go and pray outside of that facility. And then when I was traveling around, I would always be thinking about, because that was the local place that we were kind of committed to and we were praying for. So I got a call from the director of the local 40 Days campaign. He was a volunteer guy named Ken Groves. And Ken calls me up. He says, "David, you're never going to believe this. Guess what? The abortion center just closed its doors. It just went out of business. This coming weekend, we are going to have a rally. We're going to thank God for all the amazing things he's accomplished here, and we are going to celebrate what's going to happen in this building. Is there any chance you could come?" Now, we were about to leave on an international trip, so my wife and daughter were unable to come, but my son and I, we said, oh, we've got to be there. So we drove about an hour up to Manassas, and when we got there, it was beautiful. There were over 100 people gathered outside of this former abortion facility. And as we gather around the door, Ken, the local 40 Days for Life leader, proceeds to tell us all the story of what had happened there. He said, when I first heard about this opportunity to do a 40 Days for Life where we could pray for a 40-day season outside of this abortion facility and offer help and hope to those going in, I said, we've got to do this because I believe that this abortion facility needs to close to help protect women, to help to save children. So Ken signed up to lead the local campaign, but the first day he went out there, he was praying with a group of people outside of the abortion center, and somebody said, oh, there's Dr. Akota. He said, who's that? They said, well, Dr. Akota is the abortionist. And he looked over, and Ken saw this man walking into the facility, and he yelled angrily at him, and he says, how can you kill babies? Don't you know what you're doing? And the doctor looked at him with a scornful look and then just ran into the facility that much quicker. Well, Ken was angry because he realized what was happening in this facility, and he got very angry about this. And the next couple of times he was out there, he was just seething with anger, and he realized, I'm not doing anybody any good. The abortionist runs in that much faster when I'm out here. And his pastor said, you know, Ken, you need to get away from this for a little bit, and you need to get down on your knees at church, and you need to ask God to work on your heart. And Ken said, okay, I'll do that. And so for the next couple of weeks, he had other people take over the campaign, and he spent a lot of time on his knees in prayer at his church. And finally, by the time he felt ready to go back out, he realized what I've been doing has not been done out of love. I've done it out of anger, and that's not Christ-like. How can I show Christ to this man going in every single time? And he went out a new person, and he said, I am going to love Dr. Akota. Regardless of what happens, I certainly don't love what he's doing, but I am going to love him because he's a child made in God's image and likeness as well. And so he started to reach out in love as Dr. Akota was going in. He would say, we're praying for you. How are you today? And over time, Dr. Akota stopped walking in so fast and a couple of times even came over to talk to Ken. And he noticed this change in demeanor. And he started to engage with him, and Ken started to learn about him, started to learn that he delivered babies sometimes during the week. And Ken encouraged that, but he didn't sit there and criticize him for the abortions. He just said, hey, if you ever need anything, we're here for you. If you ever need anything, we're here for you. Well, one day towards the end of their 40 days campaign, their group was praying outside, a circle outside, and Dr. Akota was inside doing abortions. So they were praying very intently. And all of a sudden, the door of the clinic opened, and Dr. Akota came running out over to them, and he says, I've got to ask you, are those Christian prayers? And they said, well, yes. He said, well, I grew up in the church, and it was a part of my life, but then everything changed in my teenage years, and I drifted away, and I've been gone for a really, really long time. And Ken said, would you like to talk to my pastor? And Dr. Akota thought for a minute, and he said, I would. I really would. So Ken thought, this could be his faith the size of a mustard seed. The mountain's about to move from here to there. This could be amazing. So he goes to his priest, his pastor, and he says, this doctor wants to meet with you. And they tried to coordinate it. And for the next week or so, they couldn't get it together. And Ken started to despair, thinking, maybe this isn't meant to be. But then finally, they got the appointment set. Dr. Akota went. He met with his pastor, Ken's pastor. And he never went back and did another abortion ever again. He left the abortion industry. So Ken's relating this story to all of us outside of this closed abortion facility. And we're thinking, wow, that's the end of the story. And he's like, oh no, there's even more. So after this had happened, they said, now we've got to love the next person. And so they started to love the interim abortionists they were bringing in. They also found out that this abortion center in Manassas had originally been run by a physician who was doing the abortions. He passed away, and his wife was the one who actually owned it. And they thought, okay, we loved one person out of this. Let's put all our love on her. And so they started to pray for her. They started to reach out in love to her. And over time, they began to build a little bit of a relationship. And eventually, Ken got together with a group of Christian business people in his town, and they all pulled together their financial resources and said, let's go in and try to buy her out. And so they set a meeting, and they went and they met with her. And she said, I'm only in this because it's my only livelihood. It's all I know. And she said, I would leave if I could. And they said, well, do we have an offer for you? They said, we are willing to come in and buy out this facility on the condition that you can never be involved in abortions again. That would be in the contract, and that the facility could be used for whatever. And finally, she conceded, and she sold the building, and that was the place that we were standing outside of. And what they told me was, as we were there outside of this closed facility, they said, we have just arranged that we are opening a new pregnancy center inside this former abortion facility. We are going to offer hope and help to mothers rather than the sales pitch they used to get for abortion inside that place. And I kid you not, as we are gathered there praying and just thanking God for answering the prayers of so many people there, Ken's phone is buzzing in his pocket and he pulls it out and he says, I got to tell you who just texted me. Dr. Akota just texted me. And he asked me to let you all know, thank you for loving him and helping him to leave the abortion industry. And he said, never stop what you're doing because there are so many others who need help just like me. A seed of faith, the size of a mustard seed, but they put that faith into action. A worker, a physician leaving the abortion industry, the owner leaving that facility today, a thriving pregnancy center. Look what God can do through faith put into action. Well, I mentioned that we were about to leave on an international trip, and this was the third of the stories I'll share with you. Because the trip we were about to go on, here we had been at the abortion center closest to our house, and we were about to go to the other side of the world, to the country of Croatia. Now, at that point in time, Croatia was the fastest growing international location for 40 Days for Life. And we were going and supporting a lot of the international campaigns, and so we loaded up our daughter, our son, my wife Margaret, and I, and we all flew over. We actually, to get our frequent flyer miles to work, we had to fly into Budapest, Hungary, and then they came and picked us up and they drove us down to Zagreb, Croatia. And there they call 40 Days for Life, 40 dana za život. I want to hear you repeat that 3 times after me. I'm just kidding. But it was amazing because as we arrived there in Croatia, thousands of miles away from our home, we saw faith on fire. And we saw people putting their faith into action. Now, some of you may recall, Croatia used to be part of the former Yugoslavia before the Balkan conflict that split the nation apart into the many different states. And Croatia had a very, very challenging history in the midst of that. But as we got there, we saw people on fire, not only for the pro-life cause, but for their faith. The churches were full. We went to daily masses and they were packed with people. We went to Sunday services, they were packed with people. And the people in Croatia said, never in the United States ever take for granted the gift that you have of your religious freedom, because for 40 years, we suffered under godless communism. For 40 years, not only could we not practice our faith, we couldn't even talk about our faith. And now to have it back, it's such a gift. We're embracing it. You in the United States never take that for granted. And wow, what a strong message that was for us. And as they told us the story of how this pro-life effort had spread all across Croatia, it had started with a gentleman in London named Robert Koontz, who had run a 40 Days for Life campaign right in the heart of the city. And the people in Croatia had heard about this. And the guy who said, I need to do something about this, who had that first little tiny spark of faith, his name was Ante Čaukažić. And Ante was a school teacher in his 20s. And he literally could not do this other than as a volunteer. But he said, here in Zagreb, the capital city, abortions are committed in a local hospital. And so what do? We'll form a 40 Days for Life. We'll hold a vigil outside the hospital. We won't even know who's going in, if they're going in for an abortion or for their tonsils to be removed. We're just going to pray. We're going to have signs. We're going to be there as a peaceful witness. And so during those 40 days, they had hundreds of Croatians participate in their campaign. And during that campaign, they know of 5 lives that were saved, and one of the abortionists quit performing abortions in Zagreb. So then Ante was on fire, and he's like, we got to spread this everywhere we can. So he started talking to friends in other cities. So the next campaign, there were 3 cities, then 6 cities. By the time we were there were 13 40 Days for Life campaigns going on across this country that's about the size of New Jersey. It was amazing to see. So we went down to Dubrovnik and Split and other cities across the country. But the one city that most profoundly affected me was the city of Vukovar. And the day I went to Vukovar, we were doing a long day of traveling back and forth, and so Margaret and the children stayed back in Zagreb. And I went with Ante and the crew, and we drove over to Vukovar. And Vukovar is on the eastern border of Croatia, and it's right on the Danube River across from Serbia. And Vukovar was the city that was hardest hit during the Balkan conflict. You could still, years later, see evidence of it. The buildings had holes from the shells. There was still damage all over the city years later. I met people whose families had been taken out and shot and thrown into mass graves. I met a man who had been captured as an enemy combatant and tortured at a prison camp. One of the women praying at the 40 Days for Life vigil in Vukovar was sharing that she had been raped multiple times by enemy combatants. There was a darkness over that city. But even in the midst of that darkness, there was a light that was piercing through. Because when we went out to the hospital in Vukovar, the local leader, Lydia, who was running that 40 Days campaign, she brought us out there, and there were more than 150 people praying in a circle outside of that hospital. And they had signs, and they were singing joyfully. They were praising the Lord. It was spectacular to see. And all of them just having that little tiny seed of faith that maybe this would make a difference for one person, or maybe this would help to end this injustice for once and for all. Putting their faith into action. It was so encouraging to see. And afterwards they said, David, we're going to go to a house nearby for a meeting. And so they drove me to a little tiny house a few miles away from where the hospital was. And when we pulled up, we went in the few stairs to go into the house, and a woman greeted us in a bathrobe. And I thought, this is a rather unusual type of meeting. But through a translator, she spoke no English. This woman proceeded to share her personal story. She said, several months back, I was in an abusive relationship. I was pregnant, I was terrified, and I didn't know what to do. She said, so I went to the hospital here in Vukovar for my abortion appointment. And she said, the day that I arrived, there were people praying outside. And they had signs saying that they would help me. She said, I went over to one of them because I was terrified. And I said, you have no idea how much help I need. And they said, it doesn't matter. Whatever it takes, we're here for you. She said, they helped me. Through the translator, she started relating that they provided medical care. They helped her to get out of the abusive relationship. They helped her to find housing. They helped her with all her practical needs, and they were there with her throughout her entire pregnancy. And through the translator, she related, they were with me 2 weeks ago when I gave birth to my little daughter. I named Petra. And then she looked at me, and through the translator said, would you like to meet my little girl? And I said, yes, I would. And a woman came around the corner from another room in the house, and she had this little tiny 2-week-old baby in her arms. And the mother took Petra out of the other woman's arms, and she laid her in my arms. She was kind of wiggling. She wasn't really happy. And then she kind of dozed off. But as I looked at this little, precious, perfect child in my arms, I realized she was that close to being a statistic. What if people hadn't prayed that day? What if people hadn't had that little tiny seed of faith the size of a mustard seed? What if Robert in London, Ante in Zagreb, Lydia in Vukovar, the people praying outside, hadn't taken that faith and put it into action? As I held Petra in my arms, I realized that were it not for people just like every single one of you, she would not be alive today. But she is alive because people had faith and they put that faith into action. For me, that moment was worth everything. To go a few days earlier from seeing a closed abortion facility, the closest one to my house, to then thousands of miles away from home, holding in my arms a tiny little child so perfect, made in God's image and likeness, that moment was worth everything. And if you've not yet had that experience of having a mother thank you for all that you do to make the work of Right to Life of North Central Indiana possible, if you've not yet met that little girl or that little boy who is alive because of you, then I pray one day soon you have that experience. You're holding that child in your arms, and you're saying, this is so incredibly worth it. I don't know the role that God has planned for you, but you're not here by accident tonight. We're not here in Warsaw and Kosciuszko County by accident. We're here because God has a unique and special role for each and every one of us for such a time as this. So are we willing to believe? Are we willing to have faith? Are we willing to have that tiny seed of faith the size of a mustard seed? And then are we willing to put that faith into action? Maybe it's to educate yourself about these issues in ways that you've never educated yourself before. And Dave Koontz and his team have amazing educational resources. Maybe it's to make sure you're getting the state Indiana Right to Life updates that Mike Fichter and his team send out, an amazing organization that is doing some of the best pro-life work in the nation, that is the envy of 49 other states. Maybe for you, it's to get involved in your local pregnancy centers so you can be the hands and feet of Christ, to love somebody in that time of need. Maybe, as Dave was talking about, it's to be involved in post-abortion healing. Either maybe you've been through the pain of an abortion and you still need healing. Though our sins are as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. All of us as sinners can be redeemed and forgiven by our Savior Jesus Christ. And maybe that's your first step, or someone you love's first step to find that healing. Certainly one thing we can all do. Can we all commit to always vote pro-life? That's something we can all do. And maybe somebody here, thank God for those of you who are legislators, you have some amazing, heroic leaders in the political process here in Indiana. And I know heroic and political usually are not in the same sentence, but you really have some great leaders. And there are some here that maybe God is calling you to serve in some sort of a civic responsibility and to get involved at a higher level. And one thing that each and every one of us can do tonight, Dave laid out a challenge, $80,000. $80,000 to be able to save more lives than ever before, protect more mothers than ever before, help those who've been wounded to find healing. And you've got the matching challenge that will double up to $26,000, every gift over $100. We got to get that done tonight. I don't know what it is of all these things that God's asking you to do, but He knows. And if you're willing to ask Him, and if you're willing to say, yes, as for me and my house, we will serve you, Lord, then you will be a part of putting your faith into action. You will be a part of saving more lives. You will be a part of helping mothers, and you will be a part of changing the very course of history. Because one day when abortion ends, it's not a matter of if, it's when. When it ends, the history books are going to remember those who are on the front lines of the fight. And tonight, you and I get to decide what our children will read in the pages of those history books. Will they read about how bad things were with the Biden administration and all the things that Planned Parenthood was doing and all the things that were happening in Texas and things that were happening with the Mississippi case and things that were happening in Indiana? And then they'll start reading through, looking for names. Will they find your name as somebody who is there on the front lines, putting your faith into action? And I believe through your participation here tonight, the answer is going to be yes. And they're going to see your name, and they're going to read your story. And your grandchildren or your children are going to come to you and say, I'm so proud of you. Everybody else in North Central Indiana was busy doing their thing, but at that critical moment in time, you were doing the right thing. That's when you're going to be full of pride and know that those children have seen an example of heroic faith, and they will follow that faith. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for putting it into action, and thank you for what you are doing here tonight and in the days and weeks ahead to help end the atrocity of abortion and to build God's kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. God bless you.
Thank you, David. As always, you do a great job of encouraging, motivating, and reminding us of what we're all here about. With everything we do, it really comes down to saving the lives of unborn babies, even on an individual basis, and helping their moms choose life. Back in 1995, I almost dropped out of the pro-life movement because it seemed like the goal of stopping abortion was so big that it was impossible. And then I felt like God encouraged me that in everything I did from a pro-life perspective, if all I did was save one baby's life and help one woman choose life and avoid making a decision that would negatively affect her for the rest of her life, that would be all worth it. And I hope that you'll feel that same way. Even though Right to Life is doing a lot of things, it still really comes down to saving the lives of unborn babies and supporting their moms and their dads. I've had the privilege of being a part of the leadership of Right to Life for almost 30 years, but Right to Life isn't my organization, it's yours. Right to Life is really you. Right to Life is a conduit through which you are making a difference in the lives of women, men, and children, both born and unborn. When someone sees a pro-life message on a billboard or a billboard advertising a pregnancy center, that's you encouraging them to choose life. When someone learns more about pro-life issues and gets more involved at a fair booth, that's you educating them. When a mother in crisis calls into the Safe Haven hotline number because of a billboard, that's you offering help and hope for her and her baby in a time of crisis. When a woman or man finds God's forgiveness and healing from abortion, that's you caring enough to help make a difference in their lives. When a high school student participates in the National March for Life and is motivated to get more involved in the pro-life movement, that's because you sponsored them. Right to Life is you working to communicate that all human life is valuable and worth protecting. And in the current political and social environment we find ourselves in, your involvement and investment are even more critical. Your financial investment this evening, whether you can give $10 or $10,000, is sending a message of life to North Central Indiana. Your donations will help promote a message of life through billboards that encourage women and men to choose life, radio spots that educate, events such as the Roe v. Wade memorial services, pastor appreciation lunches, Pro-Life 101 training for students and adults, and Safe Haven baby boxes that offer moms in crisis a safe way to surrender their child and can save the lives of babies like baby Nola. Or the Safe Haven hotline number that will offer women experiencing a crisis pregnancy or birth the opportunity to find the encouragement and support they need to get through that crisis. And your donation or pledge will encourage and assist pregnancy centers in our region. We want to be sure that no North Central Indiana mother ever feels that her only option is to abort or abandon her child. No matter what you feel God is leading you to give, you'll be making an impact in changing hearts and minds and saving lives in North Central Indiana. And just a reminder, as David just said, and I said earlier, our fundraising goal this evening is $80,000. Tonight we have that added incentive of $26,000 match. So your donation of $100 or more this evening will be matched dollar for dollar up to $26,000, which will get us over halfway to that $80,000 goal. Now, for those of you that haven't already picked up the envelope and started to fill your pledge card out, there are individual 6x9 white envelopes on your tables. If everybody could pick one up, I think there's at least 6 or 7 at each table. And inside there is a pledge card. And I know some of you do this every year, although it's been 2 years, so maybe you need a reminder. But for those of you that don't know about the card, what I do like to do is just take a few minutes and go through it. And also want to remind you that in addition to the regular financial efforts or the financial support that we give pregnancy centers, we're also giving 10% of all the donations and pledges that come in this evening to our 5 pregnancy centers. So if you look at the pledge card, there's information at the top that we'd like you to fill out. We would like you to consider both a one-time donation and a pledge. And if you look just below the personal information that we'd like you to fill out, you'll see my investment tonight to save lives in North Central Indiana. There's several options there, and then there's the other, where you can fill in whatever you'd like if those options we're showing aren't what you were thinking that God was leading you to give. So then next you'll see 3 ways you can give your donation. You can either give by check or cash tonight, and if it's a check, just make it out to RTL of NCI. We find that people run off the blank if you put Right to Life of North Central Indiana, so we try to make it easy. You can also ask us to send you a bill in a few days. So you check that second box, and we'll send you a reminder along with a return envelope within probably by the end of the week. You can also give by credit card for the full amount, and we have the credit card information down at the bottom for you to fill out. You can also check, there's a section in there that says, I would like a tax deduction, or I do not need a tax deduction. If you don't mark anything, we'll assume that you want a deduction. If you don't need the deduction, we can use your donation a little bit more, we have a little bit more flexibility. And so if you don't need the deduction, just check that box, and that will go into our general fund, which helps with some of the expenses of the organization that aren't directly considered to be education in nature. So one-time donations are very important and greatly appreciated, but as you can imagine, we have expenses throughout the year, and a monthly or quarterly pledge will help us also. And so there's a colored box there in the middle of the card. If you'd like to make a monthly or quarterly donation, fill in the actual amount that you want to give monthly or quarterly in those blanks. We'll begin sending out reminders in October, but you also have the ability to pledge electronically. You can have your donation made monthly or quarterly by credit card or out of your checking account, and you can fill that information out below. If it's coming out of your checking account, just put a voided check in with your pledge card, and we'll know the bank information then. And there's one more thing. Oh, down at the very bottom, if you're doing an automatic pledge out of your credit card or checking account, please check whether you would like to have that come out on the 5th or the 20th of each month. Then as you're finishing it up, fold the cards back, slide them in the envelope, and then in order for us to make sure that the envelopes don't get lost on the table, if you can put all of those envelopes into that manila envelope, we'll have somebody come through and pick those up after the program. Okay, we are way ahead of schedule, which has created a little bit of an issue, which I'll mention here after a few announcements. First of all, please consider participating with us in the Life Chains on Sunday. There will be one here in Warsaw. There's one in Syracuse, Wabash. You can see the list on page 12. It would be great to have you there. We provide the signs. They're non-graphic. And so it's a very good opportunity for us to educate the public as they drive by. Don't forget that Wednesday's Right to Life Day at Clearwater Car Wash. Consider registering for Heartline's Donut Dash using one of the forms that you'll find on your table this evening. We also wanted to make sure you took some educational information with you. The Randy Alcorn books are on your tables this evening, are free. And if there's an extra one left and you think of somebody that might find it helpful, please feel free to take more than one. Well, first of all, I want to say how much I appreciate all of you being here this evening, all that you're doing for life throughout the year. It's a privilege, really, to be able to partner with you, and it's always very motivating and encouraging every year to see the number of people that come out to this event, as well as participating in the events throughout the year. Now, before Jessica comes up to finish this evening, we want to take a few minutes to auction off the painting that Christy Zebarth has been working on. Now, unfortunately, I screwed up, and we're way ahead of schedule, which I guess is a good thing in some respects, but it didn't allow Christy enough time to finish the painting. So we're going to auction it off, and then Christy has promised that she will make it look exactly like it would have looked about 45 minutes from now. And you have my word on that, so because I can trust Christy. So they're going to bring what you have up, and then our very own Bill Landrigan is going to be the auctioneer. So I'm sure that he'll find some entertaining ways to entertain you. But Bill, we only have about 10 minutes or less, so we don't want people staying here too long, especially after they thought they were getting out early. You got it?
What? It's time, right? Okay. You're gonna get it. Well, yes. Hello. Are you still there? Okay. The artwork featured tonight is a custom original, quote, baby botanical. No, that's not right. You'll name it. Botanical? She'll give you a reason for that name, I think. By Warsaw artist Christy Zebarth. The surface is a 20 by 40 hardboard. It's a hardboard panel with a 2-inch frame. Free depth, painted in a gold, slate, clay, and white lacquered vinyl medium by Blade. Cut. To create a 900+ piece monochromatic mosaic. I'm only going to say that once. If you didn't get it. The dominant gold, according to prayer and the mind's eye of the artist, represents the high value of the life of an unborn child. So Christy will come over and make a few more comments about it. I do have 45 minutes here because it spoke about her finishing it tonight.
This is very impromptu. Should I ask to borrow the cowboy hat? No, that's an untouchable.
I didn't hear that, ma'am.
Oh, should I ask to borrow the cowboy hat?
What about it?
The
You want
auctioneer's hat? No, it's all good. This is very impromptu. I guess this is my time to give you an apology. I tried my best. I just didn't get it done. Not entirely. It isn't, oh, yes.
You want to borrow it?
Oh, I do.
Another gentleman tonight wore one in, and I thought it was mine. I'm not sure it's not. Okay.
Well, I'll be walking off the stage with this, I'll just tell you that much. So the name of it is a baby botanical. If you can see, there's a baby in there. I promise, if you are the winning person tonight, I will finish it to the best of my ability. If you came from California tonight, I will drive it to you. No, I will not. I will ship it to you. I will do whatever is needed to make it right with you. So I tried my best. I've got the Band-Aids to prove it. It is blade cut. It's a mosaic. I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards. Thank you so much. Here's your hat back.
Oh, thank you. There is a reserve on this. If you've gone to auctions before, you like something and you really look at it a long time and so on, and then down at the bottom it says, reserve a certain price before we start. And I like that because it gets rid of the fluff of the $5 and $10, stuff, 15, 20, 25, 30, 45, 55, 40. You get rid of that. So, the reality of this, it comes from a studio here in town. The bid price to start is $400. $400. That's 400. Okay, if you don't like that and you want to bid at $3.99, I'll kick $1 in. $3.99 and I'll kick $1 in. $3.99 and they kick $1 in. Anybody? Just raise your hand. By the way, if we get onto it, and some people like it, and we get on to bidding and whatnot, and you lose track of where we are, just raise your hand. You know, why are you laughing? Oh, by the way, in this kind of an auction, you may bid against yourself. There's no problem with that whatsoever. You'll not be kicked out. So let's start this thing with $3.99 and I'll kick $1 in. Anybody else? Anybody? Hey, I got 400. I got 425. I got 425. By the way, if you just do this like that lady did back there, I'm going to take your bid. Isabel. Okay. All right, I got 400. Now 25, 25. Hey, I got 400 with 25. 400 with 25 and 5. Hey, I got 25. Where's my people that say, hey? We need those kind of, maybe I can get David back up here and he could do that because that excites me and that excites you and the price goes up. I got 425, 5 out of 5, now 30, now 30, now 30. Who give me 30? I got 25, I got 425, now 30. I got 30, now 5 out of 5. Hey, I got 35. Now 40. I got 40. Who give me 40? 40. David, are you bidding? Went to a sale one time with my brother Harold, and it was a cow sale. And we brought home four cows. And my brother never hid. He never bid. And he couldn't figure it out till we got in the car and he heard me hiccup. If you want that explained later, I'll do it. But it'll cost you a little $1. I got 40. Ooh, I got 35, and it was 40. I got 35, and a 5, and it was 40. I had 40, and a 40, and a 40, and a 40, and a 40. Hey, I got 40 with a nod. I got 40 now, 5 out of 5, 45. Hey, I got 40 and it was 5. 40. You know, you could hurry this up, and you could all get home if you just cooperate. I got 40 and I went 5. I got 40 and I went 5. 40 and 5. 41 and 5. Going once. 41 and 5. But I can go twice, 3, 4, 5. I can keep on going. Don't get too excited. It's not going to be 3. Hey, I got 45. 5. I like that. The whole body came up, not just the arm. I got 45 and a 50. No, I love 50. I went 50. Sold. 445. Stand up, sir. Stand up. Stand up. Give him a hand. Thank you very much for your cooperation.
I think Dave did this on purpose because he didn't want to have to follow Bill. That is a hard act to follow, and I do not have a cowboy hat. I just wanted to say that I want to encourage you to really challenge yourself. If you've already written out your pledge card, the envelopes are openable. You know, we have 12 kids, and life is not inexpensive, but my husband is always pushing that envelope. In the time we sat there, our donation doubled. He's really cute, and I can't say no. So look at your spouse and say, can we go a little higher, honey? And then remember that God cannot be outdone in generosity. So whatever you give, God cannot be outdone. And also, I just want to say, David said something that really struck me. He talked about unique giftedness. And I think that when we sit out here and we listen to somebody like David Bereit, and he is so compelling and so engaging, and his story is so powerful, and you think, I can't have that impact. But David Bereit was not David Bereit until he said that first yes. I mean, he was, but you know what I'm saying. It takes that first yes. And for each of us, it's different, right? Because we are like Fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, unique, each a part of the body with an important role to play, and every part of the body is critical. So figure out your giftedness, and don't underestimate your ability to have that kind of impact. 40 nations. But at one point, he was just like you and I. So, find your giftedness and don't lose that enthusiasm. We're all sitting down there listening to him talk, and he's moving back and forth on the stage, and you're like, yeah, right? So empowered, you're on fire. Tomorrow morning, remember that. And then the day after, and then a week later, don't wait until the next banquet and be like, all right, I was fired up last year. All right, I'm not gonna stop talking. When I go home, I have 12 kids there. Lots of them are teenagers, lots of them are female. I don't get out much. So I really okay, I'm sorry. All right, on behalf of Right to Life of North Central Indiana, I want to thank you for coming to this event. It is so good to see you all. It is good for my soul to be here with you. So thank you so much for coming out and for supporting this wonderful cause. Now, please take a moment to check the back of your program booklet. If you have a heart sticker, you can take home the centerpiece at your table and be sure to give the booties to a baby. I have a heart sticker. You know what that means, right? We're giving them away, my husband said. I would have 12 more, but y'all, I'm old. Okay, if you want a door prize, don't forget you can pick it up at the ticket table at the upper level entrance to collect your prize. So thank you again for coming, and at this time, I'm gonna invite Father Jonathan Norton from Sacred Heart Parish here in Warsaw to close our evening with prayer. Father Jonathan?
All right, thank you. Let us bow our heads and pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for the gift of life, of our lives, and of every life that has ever existed, is, and ever will be. We just pray for the protection of all those lives. We pray for healing among all the women who have had an abortion and for all who have provided for this. We just pray for continued conversion of hearts to this movement of respect for life. We thank you for the example of David and so many others who have been on the front lines of this fight. Lord, we know that you have called us for this time. You knew the challenges that we would face, and you have equipped us, and you have called us to this fight. Pray now that our faith would continue to grow and to enter in and to continue to be a witness to others and to be a gift to all in these times. We ask all this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, God bless.
Thank you so much. Good night.